I fall into the same cycle with Architects every single time, where they release a single, in this case being the song Doomsday, and it feels like a bit of a B-side off of their previous album, and I lose my excitement for the new upcoming album. And then they either release another single, or I get the album and I'm just absolutely blown away. I mean, in this case, they released the track Hereafter, which I had already reviewed previously, and was just super excited about that song because it really just had this really nice energy to it. And I did anticipate the album, but I really hadn't been super excited up to that point, and I don't know why I keep doing that to myself, because every single time I'm blown away by their albums, and it's been like that for the last couple of releases, and that continues with Holy Hell. The band have really honed and perfected their melodic and technical hardcore metalcore sound here on this album, and it's evident with tracks like Mortal After All and the aforementioned Doomsday, where there's just this impressive and robust guitar work going on throughout the songs. There's these great moments where they just build things up and just release all this energy going on these songs. And I think that they've kind of been building to this for the last four albums or so. And I think at this point they've really kind of perfected it with this album, and it really feels like they've given it their all here. Now, for older fans of Architects who were introduced to them with their kind of hardcore and mathcore sound, they've kind of abandoned those that style. However, there's definitely some evidence, and they've still kind of tapped into their roots a bit with songs on here, particularly the title track Holy Hell, as well as Dying to Heal on there, which they just rip right through you. There's this utter chaotic nature to those songs, and it's really kind of great to hear that style going on still. It helps kind of break things up and break up a bit of the monotony of some of the other songs on this album. And then there's the track called The Seventh Circle, which really deserves its own mention because it's probably the heaviest track that Architects have ever laid down, with just this barrage of double bass and down-tuned guitars and just the absolute brutal screaming of Sam Carter. It's a pretty short song overall, but it's definitely, I think, really kind of dethrones Nihilist as what I would consider to be their heaviest song that they've ever done. And I like kind of that it feels kind of like a fun song. Like I said, it's pretty short, so it kind of feels like they just put it on there and said, hey, let's see what we can do. And it worked out great on this album. The lyrics on this album also deserve their own special mention for a number of reasons. Now, the Architects have always written fairly deep and meaningful lyrics, but on this album, they're especially impactful. A lot of it is dealing with the loss of their founding member and guitarist, Tom Cyril. And as I mentioned in the review of Hereafter, it feels like a kind of a tribute, and that's something that carries on throughout the entire album. A lot of the songs, pretty much every song, really kind of deals with the pain of loss and death and moving on afterwards, and what do you do, and what is after death. And it deals with a lot of things on here, and they do it in a definitely a respectful way. It feels like a fitting tribute to him. It doesn't feel like it's being used as a way. It feels like it's being used as a way for them to cope with things. It feels kind of cathartic to listen to. And you really, really get that sense that this is what they were going for with the album, especially dealing with things of those who are left behind and having to deal with the loss and it's nice to kind of hear that from them. It feels more emotional overall on this album when you listen to it. It feels more honest. It feels earnest. I mean, not that their lyrics hadn't felt that way before, but there's something special, unfortunately, behind the lyrics on this album, and I feel like they've absolutely just done a great job here. I mean, most of the lyrics really do kind of pull double duty. I mean, they talk directly about death and heaven and or hell or what's coming afterwards and things, but they also kind of there's a different meaning, there's a double meaning to a lot of them about the dissolution of relationships and things like that. Just it's nice that you can kind of relate whether you've lost somebody personally to death or anything like that, but also just if you've lost something in your life. And it feels like it's dripping with emotion and mourning, and it really it just really feels like they have tackled the tragedy of death really well here. I just feel like they've done a great job with everything lyrically here, and that's it's important for them to make this album, and I think it stands overall. I mean, this could have just been I could have been talking about how the rest of the album instrumentally may have been a bit weak, but at least the lyrics kind of carry things. But here, everything just works together, and I think this is something that really does honor Tom Searle, and just I think he would be proud to have listened to this album. Architects Holy Hell is a atmospheric and powerful album that comes from a band that has yet to disappoint me, and I really think it's going to hold a special place in their discography just for a number of reasons. I think, first of all, I think it is one of their best releases to date. I think they really kind of push themselves and keep topping themselves. But also there's that place of, this is a tribute to Tom Searle in a lot of ways. This is their way of dealing with that tragedy. And I think for that reason, it's going to stand out. But I also think it stands out on its own as well. It is just that good of an album that it deserves a special spot in their discography. And this is really an album that anybody who's into melodic hardcore, I would say even deathcore, post-hardcore, anything like that, mathcore even, should really check this album out. It's really good. It's just dripping with style and class, and just has this amazing energy to it. So I really suggest that if you can, make sure you check out Architects Holy Hell. Thank you so much for watching the review of Architects Holy Hell. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Did you like this album? Did you feel the same way I did about this being a very valid and fitting tribute to their fallen guitarist? I want to hear from you, so leave me a comment down below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more like it. Also, make sure you follow me on social media, on Twitter at Metalloud, on Facebook, facebook.com/Metalloud, on Instagram, metal_loud.